You're online at the Feelgood Station, your first stop for feel-good music, feel-good chat, and much, much more.
The Cellar of Horrors.
Greetings, children of the night, and welcome to the Cellar of Horrors. I'm your host, Tim Mendees, and over the coming weeks, I will be your guide into the mysterious and the macabre, the uncanny, the strange, and the downright bizarre. The song you heard at the top was a classic Grimly Fiendish by The Damned from their superb 1985 album Phantasmagoria. When I was thinking about this first episode, I could think of no better song to lead in with than Grimly Fiendish. It kind of sets the tone, sets the mood, and as a statement of intent, I think it's perfect going forward. The Damned have just completed a North American tour and will be coming over to the UK in October. So yeah, if you've never checked them out live, I would urge you to do so. because they are absolutely phenomenal live. Yes, so as this is the first one, I should probably introduce myself a little bit. I'm a horror writer from the UK. I specialise in Lovecraftian horror, cosmic horror, weird fiction, that kind of thing. So I will be talking about literature in this podcast. I will also be talking about horror movies, video games, all that kind of good stuff, as well as, obviously, the goth and the industrial music. I hope to have some guests on very shortly. I will get some guests on from the world of horror creatives, sort of literature and all that kind of business, but also from goth bands and things like that. So, if anybody out there wants to get in touch, or you have something to plug, whether it's a new horror book, new horror video game, or a new album, get in touch with me by emailing Cellar of Horrors, that's all one word, all lowercase, at gmail.com. Okay, oh, hello, what's this? It's my co-host, Septimus the Spider. Hello, Septimus, how are you doing? What? I was just getting to that. If you did... When are you going to shut up and play some tunes? I was just about to do that very thing. Yeah, so, I'm going to play you a song by Nottingham-based gothic rock band Chaos Bleak, who were good enough to let me use their song Mythos on the book trailer for my first short story collection, The Pseudopod That Rocks the Cradle. See? There was a segue there. Septimus is just sulking because I wouldn't buy him the Deluxe Blu-ray edition of Arachnophobia. It's a daft spider, a very, very daft spider. Anyway, the song is called Calling From Afar and is from their new EP, Virus Shadow, which released earlier this year.
give you a thought. I feel you walking by my side. As time goes by, you stay the same. I am the one to age. I hear you calling from afar.
You're online at the Feelgood Station.
Welcome back to the Cellar of Horrors on the Feelgood Station. The first song you heard there was Calling from Afar by Chaos Bleak, And the second one was the song Cherry Blossom from the band Tierpark, from their EP of the same name. Septimus is a big fan of Tierpark, aren't you, Septimus? What's your language? You can just say, yeah, they're really good. For goodness sake. Yeah, Tierpark are a side project of Klaus Larsson from Leatherstrip and Clutie. And they're a synth-pop duo, and yeah, as you probably noticed, they hark back to the classic synth-pop of the 1980s, which is always a winner for me. Moving on to video game news, we've had 3 very, very exciting bits of news come out at the moment. The first one, Fulcrum Publishing have announced the sequel to Lovecraft's Untold Stories, which was an awesome roguelite in a 8-bit retro style. It was tremendous fun and packed with Lovecraftian lore. They're releasing the sequel on September the 13th. The next one is developer Frogwares, who you may know from the Sherlock Holmes games. Now, they're going to revisit one of their early titles, which was Sherlock Holmes The Awakened, which was a mashup of the Cthulhu mythos and Sherlock Holmes, and it was a tremendous game. I enjoyed it immensely, so it'll be really nice to revisit it with like cutting edge graphics and modern control system, because it's quite dated now, and I tried to play it recently and it was an absolute nightmare. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. They hit all their Kickstarter goals and all the rest of it, and they've just announced another Kickstarter goal for even more added functionality, so I would check that out. It's gonna be a good one. I can feel it in my bones. It's gonna be very, very good. I mean, the original was superb, so you know, unless they make a complete hash of it, we're on to a winner there. The third piece is probably the most exciting from my point of view. The classic survival horror Alone in the Dark is finally getting a remake. We don't count that thing that came out in 2008. We just never speak of it again. But yeah, this is going to be a full reimagining of the original game, which is credited as probably being the first survival horror in the modern sense video game anyway. I probably wouldn't say it was. I would probably say Project Firestar on the Commodore 64 was the first survival horror game, but that's a very, 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 very little known title. So yeah, they're going full in with a proper reboot, which is looking superb. They've released a trailer, and it's looking absolutely superb. Full of darkness and Lovecraftian horrors and yeah, all that good stuff. Now, the trailer itself features a song, it's a creepy girl singing a classic nursery rhyme, which is a common trope, but it was very, very similar to the marketing campaign for Resident Evil 7. Capcom famously hired Jordan Rain, who is a post-industrial artist, to do a version of Go Tell Aunt Rhody. Yes, Septimus, yeah. They know the song. They don't need you to sing it. Anyway, so that'll lead us nicely into our next track. I'm going to play the Annihilation Sequence by Jordan Rain.
Faith in you.
wish Septimus would do what he was told every now and then. That was the Annihilation sequence by Jordan Rain, taken from her album of the same name. It's also released on her 2017 Best Of collection. It's well worth picking up. It's absolutely superb stuff. If you like that kind of tribal post-industrial sound, then it'll be right up your street. It's all very dark and brooding. It's brilliant. I really like it. Now, I tell you what I am really thankful for at the moment. I am so happy that the heatwave seems to be on the wane. For those of you internationally, the UK has been hit by a ridiculous heatwave. We've got a drought in certain parts. I mean, where I live, we got a hosepipe ban and all that kind of business going on. It's very strange. It's like when you say the temperatures to people who live in places like Texas and stuff like that, they sort of look at you like, what are you moaning about? We deal with this all the time. Yeah, what they don't realise is that over there, in places where you expect heat, you're prepared for it. Like, your buildings are prepared for it. You have air conditioning, that kind of business. We don't. We just melt. I spent a ridiculous amount of time last month sitting on my balcony in my pants, which I imagine is something that amused the heck out of anybody you could see. Luckily, I'm up high enough that I doubt anybody could see. My other trick was to go and lie in the bath without any water in it. Just lie in the cold bath. Now that was just to get the core temperature down. That was good. So yeah, the other day when the heavens finally opened and we had some respite, finally, I got very excited and I had to bang out some classic tunes that deal with that subject. So here we go. I'm going to play a couple back to back now. Here's a couple of tunes inspired by the rain.
You're online at the Feelgood Station.
That last one really conveys that blessed relief of the rain washing down. I love the synthesizer sounds in that. That sort of dripping synth noise. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, the first one you heard there was the classic from the cult Rain from their 1985 album Love. The second one was by industrial pioneers Project Pitchfork from their 2013 album Black. The song, again, was called Rain. Yeah, so I'm actually cool today, which is good, which is all good. From two classics, we're going to move straight in to something new. This is the latest single by the Vaulted Skies, who are a band that I discovered. They were supporting Still Patient and Grooving in Green in London just before lockdown hit, like a couple of years ago, like literally a couple of days before lockdown kicked in. So it was the last gig I went to for quite some time, and I fell in love with them instantly. I mean, their song, Does Anyone Else Feel Strange, has been a staple in some of my DJ sets for quite some time now. It's an absolutely blinding bit of work. Now, their latest single is called What If I Were the Boy, and this version has been remixed by legendary producer Mark Saunders, who has worked with such bands as The Cure, The Mission, Erasure and Depeche Mode. So yeah, there's some real pedigree here, and it's a superb song. This is What If I Were the Boy by the Vaulted Skies. splendid. Again, that has that brilliant mid-80s kind of vibe to it. You can see the sort of the Cure influence there. That was the fantastic What If I Were the Boy by the Vaulted Skies, their latest single, and that was the Mark Saunders remix. It's an absolute superb. It's available now on Bandcamp. You can pick the EP up. It's got the standard version and some instrumentals and some extended mixes, that kind of thing. The Vaulted Skies are playing a gig in October at Bradford Esquires. That is supporting actors on the 21st. I hope to get James from the band on at some point, because I'd love to know how Mark Saunders got involved, and if he has any stories. You know, musicians always have stories about working with producers, engineers, that kind of thing. It's one of the things that make being a musician so much fun, isn't it? It's the stories, the road stories, that kind of business. Okay, moving on. Let's take a walk over to the other side of the cellar, where I have my library. This is where I hide all my dusty tomes. And Septimus likes to hide among the books and jump out at me, because he's a little terror. They're his books, apparently. His books, yeah. I didn't see you putting your hand in your web and pulling out a wallet. I paid for them. They're my books. It's a losing battle. I give up. Anyway, yeah, so I hope to have writers and publishers and people like that in to talk about books, but as there's no one else, I'll talk about one of my own. Released on August the 31st, my second short story collection, Visions and Abominations, came out from Nordic Press. That's 20 tales of cosmic horror, and it's available on Amazon and various other digital websites and physical as well. And I think it's through Ingram Spark, so I'm pretty sure you'll be able to get it in places like Waterstones and things like that. So so pick up a copy if you want to see what madness comes out of my head. Septimus says it's terrifying. Anyway, one of the stories in there was inspired by a gothic rock classic. It was originally written for an anthology that was all about bands and music and that kind of thing, and it was an interesting premise. You had to take a song title and then write a story around that title, and inspired by it. And I did what goth DJs do. I was struggling to try and figure out which song I was going to do, so I did what all goth DJs do. If in doubt, play the Sisters. So I plumped for their second single from 1982, Body Electric. So here we go.
Flashing on the bathroom wall.
You're online at the Feelgood Station.
Welcome back to the Cellar of Horrors on the Feelgood Station. The song you just heard was by US electro-industrial band Rabbit Junk, and bat-eared listeners will have noticed that it was indeed a cover of the 1982 classic The Metro by Berlin. Yes, those people responsible for Take Your Breath Away. Take My Breath Away? Yeah, Take My Breath Away, wasn't it? Yeah, thanks, Septimus. They're a band that are relatively new to me. I was introduced to them not long ago by a friend who sort of posted on Facebook and sort of goes, "Here, I'll check these lot out, right up your street." And he wasn't wrong. See, that's what I love about music and sort of the alternative and goth scene and all that. There's so much stuff out there. And you know, you have to really sort of hunt for stuff. But sometimes things fall in your lap, and that's part of the joy about it. I mean, there's nothing better than discovering a new band that you really, really like, and you want to go and see, and all that kind of business. I mean, yeah, that's one of the joys of it. I think that's one of the joys of music in general, not just this kind of music, but all kinds of music. To that end, if you have anything you'd like to hear on this show, or if you're a band and you want to get your newest single or anything played on here, contact me at cellarofhorrors@gmail.com. That's all one word, all lowercase. cellarofhorrors@gmail.com. Yeah, as long as it fits the brief, I'll definitely think about giving it a spin. Yeah, send over clips, links, whatever you like. Okay, also, yeah, if you're a band and you have any gigs coming up that you want to give a plug, again, get in contact and I will do so. Okay, before that, you heard Body Electric from 1982 by the Sisters of Mercy. Yeah, like I was saying just before, it's a joke among goth DJs that if you're stuck, play the Sisters. And also, if you need a sneaky toilet break, the Sisters of Mercy have got you covered. I mean, the full-length version of Lucretia, My Reflection, I think anybody knows when I do my monthly night at the Caroline of Brunswick in Brighton, Release the Bats, I think everybody knows that as soon as the opening bars of Lucretia hit, that I'll be running through the bar in the direction of the gents. Okay, we're coming up to the top of the hour. Stay tuned with us afterwards. And we'll have more tunes, old and new, and some more waffle from me, and probably some more waffle from Septimus. Yeah. Why I allowed him to be my co-host, I have no idea. Anyway, yep. So what we're going to do now is we're going to leave you with a song by the Glass House Museum. This is called The Presence.
Steady, oh my nerves are shot.
You're online at the Feelgood Station. Your first stop for feel-good music, feel-good chat, and much, much more.
Tis a gala night within the lonesome latter years. An angel throng, bewinged, bedight in veils and drowned in tears, sit in a theater to see a play of hopes and fears, while the orchestra breathes fitfully the music of the spheres. In the form of God on high they mutter and mumble low, and hither and thither fly mere puppets they who come and go at the bidding of vast formless things that shift the scenery to and fro, flapping from out their condor wings, invisible woe. That motley drama, oh be sure it shall not be forgot, with its phantom chased forevermore by a crowd that sees it not through a circle that ever returneth into the self-same spot, and much of madness and more of sin and horror, the soul of the plot. See, amid the mimic rout, a crawling shape intrude, a blood-red thing that rides from out the scenic solitude. It rides with mortal pangs. The mimes become its food, and seraphs sob at vermin fangs in human gore imbued. Out all and over each quivering form the curtain, a funeral pall comes down with the rush of a storm, while the angels, all pallid and wan, uprising, unveiling, affirm that the play is the tragedy man and its hero, the conqueror worm.
Welcome back to the Cellar of Horrors on the Feelgood Station, online on the Simple Radio app. And welcome to hour number 2. Yeah, the second ever hour of the Cellar of Horrors. What you just heard was a musical adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's poem The Conqueror Worm by Voltaire. Absolutely superb. He's been going a long time now, and I've seen him a bunch of times live, and it's mostly acoustic and that kind of thing, but it's absolutely phenomenal stuff. It's also very, very funny. A lot of his stuff is hilarious. That's one of the very few serious pieces I think he's ever done. But I love it. It's off the 2014 album Raised by Bats. Before that, you heard a song from the Glass House Museum, who are a Midlands-based act, from their 2019 album Artifacts. Both really good songs. Oh, look out! Low-flying bat. What the devil? Oh, it's Bartholomew, my carrier bat. He's got a hastily scrawled message for me. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, yeah, thanks Bartholomew. Off you go. Oh, excellent news. Yeah, while we were playing some songs earlier, Septimus sent out a missive to a couple of people looking for guests for the next episode. Yes, and we've just heard back from James Scott from The Vaulted Skies. He will be joining us next time, and as will Robert Poynton from Innsmouth Gold, one of my co-conspirators on the Innsmouth Book Club podcast and Strange Shadows, the Clark Ashton Smith podcast. He's also a musician, so yeah, they're two good guests. They'll be on next week, so tune in for that. Okay, from one Edgar Allan Poe adaptation to another. Now you see, as I would usually have guests in my literature corner, in my little library over there, right? And I can't this time. I haven't got anybody. I could interview Septimus, but I don't think it'd be fit for broadcast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you an adaptation of Poe's The Raven by a band called Omnia. It's absolutely magnificent. So enjoy.
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently tapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, "tapping at my chamber door, only this, and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember it was in a bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. Presently, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Merely this, and nothing more." Out into the darkness peering long, I stood there wandering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word Lenore. This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word Lenore. Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, Soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. Surely, said I, surely that is someone at my window lattice. Let me see then what they're at is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more. Open wide I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Eris, just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Soon that ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly, grim and ancient raven, wandering on the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on this night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Now the raven sitting lonely on that placid bust spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have gone before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed by an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Once more on the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy on to fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking, nevermore. Prophets, said I, thing of evil, prophets still if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempests tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted on this desert island, chanted on this home by horror haunted. Tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, by that heaven stretched above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp her air and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. That word our sign in parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Now the raven never flitting still is sitting on the packed bust of Eris, just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor will be lifted nevermore.
Absolutely sublime stuff. That was Omnia with a adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven from their 2007 album Alive. I've always wanted to do an adaptation myself of The Raven, but I heard that when it came out and I was like, well, I'm never going to do it that amount of justice. Like I say, I think it's absolutely sublime, and I don't usually use that word very often. I did a reading of The Conqueror Worm, the song that you heard earlier by Voltaire. I did a reading of that recently, just a straight reading, because I do a lot of readings of my work, and I've done bits and pieces of other people's work. You can find most of them on my YouTube channel. And I thought at that time, it's like, maybe I should give that version of The Raven a go. Maybe I should go do it. And then I listened to that again, and I thought, nah, you know what? I don't think I'll bother. Okay, let's move over to my sort of viewing area in the cellar. We've got the old CRT with all the old game consoles set up and all the stacks of dusty old VHS cassettes. So we got a bit of TV news. Something very exciting to me is coming. It's actually just been given a release date. It's Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, and it's an anthology series in the vein of Masters of Horror. And now the first 2 episodes will drop on Netflix on October the 25th, with 2 new episodes dropping nightly until the 28th. Guillermo del Toro writes and directs 2 of them. Now the other ones, a couple of them are done by the other directors, they're written by the other directors, but there's 4 adaptations of classic horror stories, 2 of which are actually adaptations of H.P. Lovecraft. They're going to be doing Pickman's Model and Dreams in the Witch House, which I'm very excited about, because I love both of those stories anyway. So it'll be lovely to see. I mean, Night Gallery with Rod Serling did a version of Pickman's Model back in the 70s, which was fun. And Masters of Horror, Stuart Gordon, the director of Reanimator and From Beyond and Dagon, did a version of Dreams in the Witch House for Masters of Horror, which was very, very cool. I really enjoyed it. I know some people were iffy on it, but I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. So it'll be interesting to see how they compare. Now, I think the one I'm most excited about is that they're doing an adaptation of Henry Kuttner's The Graveyard Rats, which is a superbly bleak story. It's one of my favourites. It's one of my personal favourites. There was an adaptation of that in Trilogy of Terror, which was an anthology movie from Full Moon Pictures back in the 90s, and I really enjoyed that adaptation. It wasn't a faithful adaptation, but it was a fun adaptation, complete with ridiculous animatronic rat with glowing red eyes, which, you're shooting me in the heart with things like that. If you're going to do an animatronic rat, it's got to have glowing red eyes. So I'm expecting some special stuff from that. And the final one is an adaptation of Michael Shea's The Autopsy, which is a superbly disgusting novelette, which I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm looking forward to seeing that on screen. So yeah, I'll definitely tune in to those to that show. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. I just hope it lives up. I mean, I trust Guillermo del Toro. I mean, he's one of the few horror authors that I do trust when it comes to these kind of things. So, yeah, that is something I'm really looking forward to. So, inspired by that, I'm going to play you Witch House by Pretentious Moi.
The
The Feelgood Station, taking you to the best shows.
I'm all dressed up with nowhere to go. Walking with a dead man over my shoulder. I'm all dressed up with nowhere to go. Walking with a dead man over my shoulder.
door. Don't run away from me. Don't be afraid of what you can't see. Don't run away, it's only me. Don't be afraid of what you can't see.
You're listening to the Cellar of Horrors with me, Tim Mendees, on the Feelgood Station. The song you just heard was Dead Man's Party by Oingo Boingo from their classic 1985 album of the same name, Dead Man's Party. Before that, you heard an absolute blinder of a track by Pretentious Moi from their self-titled album, 2010 album, called Witch House. Yeah, so that one had obvious Lovecraft influences, and what a lot of people probably wouldn't realise is that Dead Man's Party was influenced by another classic horror writer, E.F. Benson. The line in it, Room for One More, comes from the short story The Bus Conductor, which was also adapted into a segment in the 1944 anthology horror film Dead of Night. It was also adapted into an episode of The Twilight Zone, which I've not yet seen. I need to find it. I did have a brief look online just before doing this, and it's proven to be a tricky one to track down, but yeah, it's certainly on my to-watch list. Oh. I should probably mention now, as we're in the Feel-Good mansion, if you hear any clunks and bangs or anything like that, it's probably just Judith pottering around upstairs. And also, if you hear any random dripping noises, it's because the pipes leak down here into the cellar, which it's not great for me, but it is good for my lizard, Faustus. And you know what they say, happy lizard, happy life. Moving on, I'm going to play you a track by Manchester-based band Ist Ist. This is called You're Mine.
Persistence in your mind, perseverance overall, trying to make the mind the body, so to pass the time. You're mine, you're mine, you're mine, you're mine.
That was You're Mine by Manchester's Ist, who are a great little band. I'd never heard of them until I caught them opening for The Mission and Rose of Avalanche at the Shepherd's Bush Empire in London earlier this year, and they absolutely blew me away. They were absolutely great. They're playing a bunch of shows throughout Europe in September. Starting in Hamburg on the 15th, they're moving to Berlin, over to the Netherlands, to Rotterdam, Amsterdam. They're doing 2 shows in Rotterdam, but I think they're sold out. Then they're moving over to Porto, and then they'll be coming back to the UK in November, playing a show at London on the 3rd, Birmingham on the 4th, and Hebden Bridge on the 25th, but that's sold out. If you want to get a full list of their live dates, go to istmusic.com. I would definitely recommend you check them out. They're definitely a really up-and-coming band. That song was taken from their 2020 album, Architecture, and it's a great album. If you like that sort of post-punk sound, then it'll be right up your street. I mean, I'm from Macclesfield, right? The birthplace of Ian Curtis, so that kind of sound is ingrained in me deeply. So yeah, it's perfect for me. Another great band that are touring at the moment are Sweden's Covenant, who probably need no introduction to a lot of people. Septimus is a huge fan, he's a bit of a synth-pop spider on the quiet. They're playing through September. They're doing a short UK tour. They're playing on the 14th at Glasgow, the 15th in Manchester, the 16th London, 17th in London, and then finishing off on the 18th in Bristol. I caught them, maybe not on the last tour, maybe on the one before. Now, I've got a little bit of a funny story. My partner has got that, there is a name for it, photo something or other, but it means basically when there's a change in light, it makes her sneeze. So when we're out walking or something and the sun goes behind a cloud and comes out again and she happens to get it in a certain way, it makes her sneeze. Now, Covenant use a lot of strobes. The intro to Call to Ships to Port I thought her head was going to explode. It was absolutely hilarious. It was slightly alarming, but it was also hilarious. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to play you a classic from Covenant.
That's your one.
You're online at the Feelgood Station.
Sexy sucker. Cool sweat, pop sexy sucker. Pop sexy sucker. Hustler, cool sweat, pop sexy sucker. Dirty sugar doll like a kiss an evil lover. Cool sweat, pop sexy sucker. Leisure planet boy, funky badass razor mother. Hustler, cool sweat, pop sexy sucker. Dirty sugar doll like a kiss an evil lover. Cool sweat, pop sexy sucker. Leisure planet boy, funky badass razor mother. Cool sweat, pop sexy sucker. Dirty sugar doll like a kiss an evil lover. Cool sweat, pop sexy sucker. Leisure planet boy, funky badass razor mother. sucker. Cool sweat, hop sexy sucker. Hop sexy sucker.
You're listening to the Cellar of Horrors on the Feelgood Station. My spider sidekick Septimus is currently rocking out like an absolute loon. That was Sexy Sucker from My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult from their 1997 album A Crime for All Seasons. Before that, you heard Stalker by Covenant, which is a classic from their Sequencer album. I'm not sure whether that's what you're getting in London, but I know recently they have been performing the Sequencer album in full. So if that's what we're getting when they come over to the UK, I am totally down with that. It is probably my favourite album of theirs. Pound for pound, song for song, it's just an absolute belter. Groovy Man from My Life with a Thrill Kill Cult put out a new album under his side project Darling Candy last year. It's called New Age Depression. I'll be playing you another one of the tracks off that at some point in the future. It's definitely worth checking out. There was another side project he did a couple of years ago called Trash Deity, which I absolutely loved. Basically anything that involves Groovy Man is an absolute winner for me. Thrill Kill Cult are probably one of my favourite bands of all time. As we hurtle towards the 2-hour mark, we're rapidly running out of time, so I'm going to stop waffling and I'm going to play you a couple of classics. First, I'm going to play you Chips on My Shoulder by Soft Cell from their 1982 album Non-Stop Erotic Cabaret.
Shoulder more as I grow older, feel I owe a debt for the things I don't get. I only miss out while I was there before. I sit in a corner, sit on the floor. Misery, complaint, self-pity, injustice. Misery, complaint, self-pity, injustice. Misery, complaint, self-pity, injustice. Chips on my shoulder, chips on my shoulder. Fun time, it's still in complaint time. I'll talk about famine while cooking my dinner. Don't you feel guilty? Don't you feel pity? While my head gets fatter and the starving get thinner. Misery, complaint, self-pity, injustice. Misery, complaint, self-pity, injustice. Misery, complaint, self-pity, injustice. Chips on my shoulder, chips on my shoulder. Hey! Chips on my shoulder, I'm making a stand while I sit on my ass. Fish and chip supper, well as those in the gutter. Can't have a good time, fun's just a farce. Misery, complaint, self-pity, injustice. Misery, complaint, self-pity, injustice. Misery, complaint, self-pity, injustice. Chips on my shoulder, chips on my shoulder. Chips on my shoulder, more as I get older. I owe a debt for the things that I'll get. I only missed out while I was there before. I sit in a corner, sit on the floor. Misery, complaint, self-pity, injustice. Misery, complaint, self-pity, injustice. Misery, complaint, self-pity, injustice. Chips on my shoulder, chips on my shoulder. Chips on my shoulder. I got chips on my shoulder. Chips on my shoulder. As I get old, chips on my shoulder. Chips on my shoulder. I've got chips on my shoulder. Chips on my shoulder.
The Feelgood Station, taking you to the best shows.
When the mist is rising and the rain is falling and the wind is blowing cold across the moor, I hear the voice of my darling, the girl I loved and lost a year ago. Johnny, remember me? Well, it's hard to believe, I know, but I still can't see her in the sign of the wind blowing in the treetops way above me. Johnny, remember me? Yes, I'll always remember till the day I'll die. I'll hear her crying, Johnny, remember me? Well, someday I'll guess I'll find myself another little girl to take the place of my true love. But as long as I live, I know that I still can't see her in the sign of the wind blowing in the treetops way above me. Johnny, remember me? Yes, I'll always remember till the
welcome back to the Cellar of Horrors. The song you just heard was Dave Vanian's version of Johnny Remember Me from 1990. I thought it was a nice bit of a sort of synchronicity to open with The Damned and close with a Dave Vanian side project, so we basically opened and closed to the dulcet tones of Mr. Vanian's Velvet Larynx. Before that, we heard Chips on My Shoulder by Soft Cell from 1982. Soft Cell released their first studio album since 2002's Cruelty Without Beauty earlier this year. It's called Happiness Not Included, and yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I decided to go with a classic though, just so because I'd like to get a balance of old and new on the show. But I'll definitely be playing a track off Happiness Not Included at some point. Yeah, it's really, really good. It's just quintessential Soft Cell. Something that's always made me laugh about Chips on My Shoulder is if you listen to the lyrics, he could have been talking about Twitter, like decades before the internet. It sounds like he's talking about Twitter. The man is a prophet. Now that's just about all we got time for this week. But tune in next week. I'll be joined by guests James Scott from The Vaulted Skies and writer and musician Robert Poyton. If you have any requests or you want to get in touch, if you want to come and visit the Cellar of Horrors and have an interview, get in contact with me at cellarofhorrors@gmail.com. That's all one word, all lowercase. To keep up with my writing and various other bits and pieces, find me at timmendees.wordpress.com. I'm Tim Mendees, and I've been joined by my co-host Septimus. Say goodbye, Septimus. Who do you think you are, John Peel? Right, okay. On that note, we will leave you and see you again next week with more of the finest goth, industrial, darkwave, synth-pop, etc. tunes, along with horror news from video games, TV and literature. I've been your host, Tim Mendees, and you have been listening to the Cellar of Horrors on the Feelgood Station, available on the Simple Radio app.